Alright, so why don't we go ahead and start with what's your name? When did you join the community? What interested you to join?
My name is Silent Eye.
My name is Ron.
I'm Lightless.
I joined this community about 2 years ago.
I came into a server in like 1.4.
Actually, that was around like 4 years ago at this point.
What drew me here was watching one of the tournament VODs for the WGP.
It's very entertaining to watch, for me at least. And I want to be a part of it, and I want to get better at it.
The first thing that sticks out to me is the dedication that the team has around this game. The love for a game that kind of got unrecognized and that really deserved how much depth it had.
I think what originally drew me to this community so much was just how electrifying everything felt. Everybody was doing their best to not only be the best, but a community that feels the best to be in. And honestly, I've seen a lot of Sonic communities, and I think there's really something special here. I don't think anybody should miss out on that.
Alright guys, so this is the Sonic Riders competitive talk we have to have here. This is just, this is very important.
Guys are talking about class race. I don't know what the fuck to make this automatic.
Oh yeah, Zero.
Oh my god.
If he didn't hit the rail with Max MI, that would have been so good for
This is some fucking bullshit, man. So I asked him, I'm like, listen, can't you just look at the new location?
When you nine on nose, hang on like back in, inside, upside down, fucking diagonal left and right, you can fucking do a reverse, you can hit 4 one shot. This is like that man knows.
There's always going to be something exciting, something new to do here, and we're more than happy to have you. The only question is, are you in?
Shut the fuck up, dude. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Before we begin, I want to thank Sonic Expo so much for this opportunity. When I started working on this 3 years ago now, which is unbelievable to me, I never, ever envisioned we would get to the point where we would be able to have a platform to talk about the game in this way. And I want to show my appreciation not just for the team putting this together, but just the entire Riders community doing this possible. Like, I already introduced myself. Creative mind behind the project started in, well, we're gonna get into that, but early 2016. It's coming on a decade now.
My name is Expo. I'm the lead programmer for the project. I've been so for 4 years, since 1.4, and yeah, I've been doing most of the magic behind the scenes.
My name is Launching Page. I didn't introduce myself formally before. If you know me for anything, it's probably this GIF. For some reason,
Yeah.
I made it or why, but it exists. I guess you could classify me as a producer. I'm kind of the logistics guy behind the game. It's in my name, and I'm kind of the guy doing all the dirty work to make sure that everything gets finished on time.
I'm Nitrogen. I go by Nitro sometimes. I'm a community lead at Link Community. This is a new position for me, but I have been working on event hosting for a long time. I host a lot of brackets. If you're interested in joining the competitive scene, I'm the person to talk to.
Awesome. So, you might be asking, where do competitive Sonic Riders come from? Well, it all started when I got by.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So I had a background in competitive Smash Bros. And I played my friend one day, decided to turn on Sonic Riders, and I got slapped. That's when I realized, wow, I didn't know you could be this good at the game. And that sort of piqued my interest into finding other people online who wanted to play the game. But I realized that there was no, substantial scene for it, so I decided to start it myself. Yeah, so this is one of the first videos regarding talking about the mod. It's January 6, 2016. It's a pretty early video. It's just me talking about it with my friend about how the game could be an esport, how deep the game could be. Then we're play testing the beginning of the first modifications to the extreme gears. It's one of the first order of businesses when tinkering with this game is sort of modifying, playing around, seeing what we can do with the extreme gears. So this is the first version of Tournament Edition. It wasn't called Tournament Edition, it was just called the net play build, and it was released in 2017, late 2017, around holiday time. And this was just the culmination of the things that we first wanted to do, which was start making a competitive experience, booting you to the main menu automatically with everything unlocked, making the game just more accessible to get into, taking away the CPUs in the normal race so we can focus on 1v1, and the removal of the 100 ring box, which was one of the first problematic elements of the game when we started competing. For those who don't know, the 100 ring box is a one-time consumable item on every track, and the first player who grabs it.
I know about it because I've got the game right here.
There you go. Yeah. So very good in single player, but yeah, for competitive games, we decided to take it. 1.1 marked the first time that we'd ever touched the game in terms of actually tweaking some of the boards and how the character would work. This was also the last time we ever called the mod net play build. This is when we formally rechristened it as Tournament Edition. So one cool thing, and I think this is kind of the standout of this mod, was there was an unused part of the code where it was dummied out before the game was released, where Shadow actually had a board initially, and we've added that back in. If you recall, if you ever played the game, his default board, or the one that's selected when you first pick him, right, is skates with default darkness, right? So as part of this mod, we decided to give him back the board just to kind of bring him more in line with that other character. So one more thing to add, I think, is pretty interesting trivia. You can see that board that Shadow's holding is called the speed balancer. When we unknocked the code so that he can use it, you can see that the speed balancer actually has a very similar color scheme to Shadow himself, which makes us believe that if the gear was allocated to him in the code, it was originally meant to be his default gear. But then the developers, there were 3 projects in 2006. There was Sonic 06, the GBA port of Sonic 1, and this game. So maybe they thought late in development, oh, maybe he should ride skates. And that's why skates were in the game at all. There are only about 6 skates in the game to begin with. So it seems like they added the skate, the skate type of extreme gear very late to development. 2.2 is when things kind of really started ramping up in terms of development cycles, and we had more people hopping on the code. This had new music, new art. This is the first time that we really tried to push the idea of like an HD texture pack. So we wanted to have like a huge visual overhaul. So you can see here that Sonic's been changed from his default art. We brought on, I have to credit Zephyr's here, who couldn't be here at the Expo, unfortunately, but his art has been kind of what's defined the visual, like kind of redirection for German edition, and it's very clean. I'm very happy with like the new direction we kind of picked out for like a modernized writer. You want to take this next one?
You know the history, right?
I know the history.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, so 1.3 is when we started actually expanding our reach outside of the game, started making a lot of community-related events, community contests, all sorts of stuff like that. And so we started orienting it more towards the community as well. We have and also began training with like long overarching tournament leagues, and basically we also started making a lot of breakthroughs in terms of also the technical aspects of coding and stuff. So for example, like we got more gear replicas, which is the Galaxy grinder that is shown right there. That basically, because the grinder was originally only on characters that didn't have speed type, basically, and the gear would grant speed type to those characters. But we thought it would be awesome to also add it to speed type characters, and we called it mono grinder, and that basically gave speed. So if the speed type character would pick this grinder gear, it would give him even more bonuses on grind rails, right? And that was that. Yeah.
This was also the point in the mod where we really tried to start emphasizing, wanted to be more openly transparent with what was happening, and as part of that we had various contests we would hold where people would be able to submit ideas and things like textures that would be included in future versions of the mod, like the Galaxy Grinder, which was the winner of the Monogear contest so many years ago. 1.4, in my opinion, was that was the peak of my personal engagement with the game itself. This is before I became like personally involved with development of the mod, right? This was around, actually this was right after we were featured on Tails channel, if you guys know Ryan's work. He hosted something called the Sonic Riders Arcade, where it was probably the most highly publicized events surrounding the game up until that point. And this is when a lot of new people started arriving, and riders really started to be cracked open as competitive became. A lot of new stuff was found around this time. 1.4 was the first patch to introduce a lot of the defining new mechanics that you see in Tournament Edition. Everything from S-rank tricks to fast falling to magnetic impulse, all of that was all packed into 1.4, and that's the first major, I would say, jump in competitive play that you saw. We saw matches being a lot more competitive, a lot more exciting, and that was like the first major point of it. Do you want to talk briefly about what magnetic impulse actually is and why it's so important to riders and its identity as a competitive version? Yeah. So in the original riders, you have something called turbulence. That's the wind turbine that characters create when they're in first place, or in other places where they create it, and then characters behind can ride them and do tricks. It's a little bit of a shoddy mechanic, or sometimes it didn't work in the original. It still doesn't work so good now, but made it a lot better over time. And eventually in 1.3, the slipstream mechanic was developed. That's just a general drafting mechanic where there's a sort of like a cone, invisible cone behind the player, and the longer that they're under the effects of it, the stronger. They just they just gained flat speed, and that was pretty good. But there were a lot of issues where turbulence and slipstream, they don't work when you're on a type shortcut. They don't work when you're flying through the air doing tricks, or different changes in elevation and altitude in the various stages. So that's why we developed this new mechanic called magnetic impulse. And this is basically like the signature sauce of TE that makes Sonic Riders Tournament Edition so identifiable and give it a lot of its character. And it's just basically a mechanic where when you're behind, you're not using the other two mechanics. They're not in play. You gain this whole energy around your gear, and it starts spinning faster and faster the longer you're under the effects of it. And all type shortcuts, dash panels, pit stops, trick ramps, anything you can think of gets boosted for air and speed.
Cool.
Talk about 2.0, which was came right after 1.4. We did a lot of amazing breakthroughs, like for example, putting new characters in the game, which was absolutely awesome. And we didn't know how to do that before, like at all. And yeah, so the goal was like getting an actually completely custom character, custom model, custom gear, everything like shiny. He's on the character selection screen. You know how to pick it, play it. It is like a defined new character, right? But the problem with that was actually, getting the models in, because the thing with Sonic Riders on the back end is that it didn't use a conventional model format for the 3D models. So what had to be done is that the model format had to be reverse engineered over multiple months to figure out what is going on, how to actually build a 3D model in this format from the ground up, so that the game could, read it and, preferably not crash, right? And it was very difficult. I was the main, person that was doing this over multiple months, grinding my gears, basically going crazy over it. But this screenshot is monumental, because this is when I got somewhere, right? Because I was basically just kind of looking at, ones and zeros. I'm just trying to figure out what is going on here. I had no idea, right? And then I was, messing around, and I got this. Because in the original game, Blue Star 2 is only accessible to Sonic. As you can see, Tails is full. A slightly broken version, yes. Tails is holding at least something resembling Blue Star 2, right? And that was an insane leap forward, because that helped me understand more what is going on. And from that point on, it kept getting better and better, and I actually figured out what was going on. And over time, there's still like some bugs in the 3D models. Initially, for example, like Shadow had his toe missing, which was unintentional, but that was just because didn't know exactly how the format worked. But yeah, over time, that's how custom characters came to be. Once I figured out all this stuff right here, we were able to create all these new gears, custom characters, and everything.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna add, just to demonstrate like how inefficient the original development process might have been. Each individual character and gear combination had their own model. So it's like Sonic on the Blue Star 2, and Sonic on the Blue Star, and Sonic on the Cannibal. They're all separate Sonic models. So literally, just across the original 16 characters, you have hundreds upon hundreds of models. And it's just like I don't know, like they just like stitch this game together kind of like blue.
When they're running with their board, is that a separate model for every single board? Like when they're off the board?
When they're off the board, no, it's not. It's the same models when they're holding the gear, but basically, like when they're holding a different gear, that's a separate character model. It's not the Sonic model being used by, like, just being interchanged with other boards. It's literally a different Sonic model for all like the 50 boards in the game.
What was everyone's reaction when you found that out? Was it like, oh my fucking god?
It's like, why did they do this? Another thing too, every character in the game has 6 hand meshes. So these are like hoses that the hands go in. So character models, they have rigs so that you can move them. But the hands don't have rigs, so how do the hands move? They just have 6 meshes that they change between. And it's done very fast, so it looks like they're being animated, but they're actually not.
It it's good for optimization, like don't get me wrong, but it's just a mess to deal with when you're actually making a model, because you have to make 6 separate hand poses every time you make a new character, for example, right? And also the problem with the aforementioned character and gear being combined into one thing is that since every separate instance of gears and on a character being on a gear is different, texture artists had problems over time because for some reason on some gears the character model was different than on other gears, so you had to kind of make 2 versions of textures to make sure it worked.
The texture was actually different.
Yeah, it was actually different for some reason.
Thank you for figuring that out. Strongest soldiers. Strongest soldiers.
And, so another point of 2.0 was actually separating the characters from the gears so that this wouldn't happen. It would be way easier for tech artists as well and also for us to deal with this sort of stuff.
Something I also want to mention, and this is big ups to Expo. If this sounds hard, it is already. However, up until a certain point, this was all being done in PowerPC assembly, which holy moly, I don't even know how you begin to navigate that kind of thing. And like you said, it took months, right? Which was unbelievable. But this was made easier with the help of something else.
Yeah. So those who don't know, PowerPC assembly is basically to not get into too crazy technical detail. Computers read instructions basically. What PowerPC assembly is basically those instructions. They're very not human readable. You have basically no idea what's going on. You just direct processor instructions, right?
It's like one up for binary.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Right. So it's essentially unreadable if you don't know anything about the context behind those instructions, right? But another monumental step that 2.0 took was we introduced a higher level programming language, which is C++, which is actually human readable, thank God, right? So now we had a mix of assembly and C++ that made the development cycle way faster, way easier, way more organized, and helped 2.0 actually push this out way faster, because doing all this new custom character stuff, putting all these new features in, putting everything in that old code format would have been so painful. I don't even want to imagine it. But this was a monumental step for helping that actually come to life as well.
Sure. So starting with 2.2, we had these new characters to add to the game, right? We started conceptualizing who's getting added to riders, right? Obviously, if you guys came by our booth or played any riders this weekend, you saw Blazes in the game, Silver's in the game, Balls in the game. Hatsune Miku.
Yeah.
You guys know who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up?
Oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I just wanted to say, whoever did the new designs for the actual clothing.
The concept first.
Yeah, but the fact that Chaos has little bits of coconut in his water.
Yeah.
Flying on his foot? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's like I mentioned, that's all Zephyrus. So all credit to him.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We've got this timeline, right? We start with an initial idea, then we just iterate, right? We go to an art draft, we finalize the design, and then we send it over to the folks who work on modeling. They start making models, and then we get in the game. So here we go. This is Emerald, who was added to the game, delightfully. And we started out with this concept of what his default board might look like, right? This is, what's this exactly? The Sonic Battle? Skill card, thank you. So we were like, this is the perfect thing to design a board after, right? So we sent that off to Zeph to, conceptualize the character, and then we were fine.
We also started with a scarf, right? This is a bit of an internal.
My bad. I was not here for this part.
This is a bit of an internal meme within the development team that we keep trying to give characters scarves for whatever reason. And it keeps getting phased out because everybody hates it, but the scarf just keeps going back. I don't know.
Almost got a cool scarf.
But yeah, we clean up the art and then proceed to get him in the game. And if you look real closely, you may notice this guy does indeed have 6 sets of hands.
Yeah.
To open these guys in Blender and be like, oh yeah, that's how the hands look. It's fine.
Going over a couple elements of the design when we came up for Emerald, a lot of it was a lot of the details were by the person who made the video, who was talking before. They go by Lightwisp. That little detail of Emerald having the ring, that is to represent the bond between Sonic and Shadow that Emerald has. So for the Sonic Riders version of Emerald, he has that ring on him to show that he's, a more mature version of Emerald.
No reason the game, obviously. The reason we picked up this screenshot specifically was it was the first patch reviews included. And as you can see, it's not his toe that's missing, but it's the left side of his left foot. So, oops, but we did fix it later.
I think it's possible that the stage, that little blue text that's next to it is hiding it.
Yeah, it is.
Because the way that the Metal City's floor works is that those texts on the floor, they kind of take precedence, right? So anything that's kind of behind it kind of hides it, but yeah.
And then this is also the first patch where we added emission textures. So these are textures where we can make the character, certain parts of them light up. So you can see Emerald's eyes and the gear are they're both lit up, right? So they shine in the darkness.
And around this time, we also had a character design contest. We opened it up to the community, and we took submissions from anyone who was like, hey, I've got a good idea for a writer's character. Not only a writer's character, but also how we would adapt this existing Sonic character into a writer's character, right? Because Riders has a very distinct style to it, and we wanted these characters to look like they could have recently been added to Riders in 2005,
So we just want to take some time to showcase ones that didn't quite make it. We will be announcing the winner after some of the runner-ups, but these are our favorites of the ones that were submitted.
Yeah.
So much BW by Seville or Sergi. I'll always call him Sergi, but he goes by something now. So as you can see here, it's mostly actually. I think a lot of inspiration was taken from some of the concept art that was released as part of IDW, where they had like a kind of like a pucker jacket on. So some of those elements were adapted into this. I do like the name of the board, especially. Maybe my favorite part of this is the loose screw. As you can see there, it's kind of like it's wide on the sides, but then it kind of tightens into it.
And this was made before the IDW Riders,
yes.
right?
Yes, yeah, that's true. Live
Shout out to Slayer.
Yes. Also, really cool detail here is if you guys are familiar with riders, as you progress through the race and you collect reads, you will level up. So as you are racing lap to lap, you will get faster. And what also happens is as you level up, you gain new abilities or attacks. Slayer actually took the time to draw out concepts of what Lighthouse attacks would look like. So these are adapted for you, so you can do it for your planet.
Yeah, like the Cyclone, the Dragon Boost, and their Super Dragon Boost.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to see Lilac in the game. She's just.
I'd actually be down too. Obviously, this is not a Sonic character, so we would want to get full permission from the people who made her before. If and when this would ever happen.
Yeah, from Galaxy.
But, yeah, I'd love to.
Galaxy.
Something I should also mention is that just because these are runner-ups does not mean they will not appear later. We have selected one that will appear first, because obviously this kind of stuff takes a lot of time to concept and refine, like sorry you mentioned. But all of these are definitely still on the table. Just want to make that clear. If any of these people who submit these were watching. So I will explain this. There's a bit of a story behind this. So this is Chris, yes. There's a man in our Discord. His name is Subdude. I don't know much about him. However, I love Subdude. He's Subdude, exactly. He loves to draw Chris, and I'm not going to get into much more detail than that. But one thing that seemed to annoy him for a while was people would compare his drawings of Chris to Sora from Kingdom Hearts. So I think that's actually what he's kind of took that in stride here. He gave him a Keyblade.
Took that to heart.
Yeah, this is kind of a mix of Kingdom people. So it's just, it's a bit of an interesting take on it. Val.
Yeah.
Shout out to Clockwork for that one.
Yeah. Interesting thing here was they took inspiration from the board that Emerald had, so it's the same thing as the skill card except made out of wood. I think that's because the idea is that they're both robots with kind of like mysterious origins, so there's a connection. And then also again there's some sketches of the attacks, which I definitely appreciate. I like Sonic's face here. That's
yeah.
remember playing the story mode, we know that at the end of the Babylon Guardians defeat, Sonic and friends and Eggman find a chest with a letter, right? And the magic carpet comes with it. And with the letter, it says, this is the ultimate, this is our culmination of all our research. It's one of the prototype extreme gears, keeps us flying. And the message is curiously from Stolen, the 13th leader of the Babylon Rogues. So we don't know what this character looks like, but we know that they were a character and they had an origin, and that they were at least partially responsible for the creation of the original extreme gear. So taking that idea, we complete the headcanon, fill in the dots, and there was someone out there who took that task on. So I really like where the inspiration came from, right? They thought that because this character Stolen created the magic carpet, they sort of extrapolated that. They created the digital dimension and the Babylon Guardian to guard it. So they probably created the Guardian in the image of themselves, right? So the Babylon, we later find in Sonic Riders Zero Gravity that they have, the Babylonians, they have the origin of genies, and that's why they created a genie to guard the treasure.
Aren't they also, it's also revealed in Zero Gravity that they're aliens.
Yep, that's it.
Alien genies and they're birds.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you recall I guess you can call it a final boss, even though it's a little bit of a weird part of the game. At the very end of Riders, you have to defeat who looks like a genie, and so I think parts of that design were adapted into Stolen because they might have created that being in his image.
I'm down for it. The Babylonians, they're my favorite characters in the Sonic universe because.
That's what's up. And now to announce the winner of the character contest. This is a character that we're about to confirm right now.
Oh!
So this guy is definitely coming in 2.5. Oh, sorry? Yeah.
Yeah.
Of
good.
course, yeah.
Tell your friends, my goodness.
Yeah, and the winner is, and I can't believe I'm saying this, it is Zaz! I don't want to speak on behalf of the dev team. Zaz was not a character I gave a single solitary hoo-ha about. But Danny, as I knew more, did not the studios, you can find them on Twitter, full credit to them. This is an outstanding redesign of the character. So you can see here that also this submission, and we'll get into more of the reason why this was, it completely blew us away with how articulate and detailed it was. So yes, so we'll have bits and pieces of that. So it's been he's been kind of redesigned with more of an alt aesthetic. Something I want to point out here is, here's the board as well. So, yeah, I don't actually know what the orb he rides on is called, but it's obviously taking bits and pieces of that. And this is the art that they submitted for Zaz as well. So this is also, so every attack has also been modeled out. So at level 1 he's got a slam, at level 2 he does a swipe, and then at level 3, what's interesting is that some characters they'll actually have different visual properties that are attached when they boost things. For example, like
Type effects.
yes, so like Wade has the wrench, right? When she's at a certain level, she can use other weapon people. So level 3, he would gain his orb actually. He would temporarily hop off his board and ride on this instead.
You know, like what Aya does with his balls.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah, that's the one. Sorry, I actually want to skip around a bit. So the design process behind this is interesting because for 2.0 we wanted to stick to characters that were realistically could have been added to Riders had they had more development time. So stuff that was pre 2016. That's what we had Chaos and all those other characters. Zaz is kind of the opposite because he comes from a time when this is like the modern Sonic era where everyone's like a little more cartoony and lankier. So we wanted to recontextualize this design to fit better within the world of 2006 Sonic, right? So like make his hands much bigger, right? Like that super oversized hands everyone has in Riders.
Big detail was making him more muscular.
Yes.
Kind of like bringing him back to 2006.
Yes. And this was the model that was submitted originally. So this was just a prototype that Danny provided to us. And so we decided to show this off in the panel because it kind of encapsulates the design process that we outlined, where we kind of start with the draft and then refine. So this is, yeah, you can see his model's done, he has his board, and he's looking pretty fly, I gotta say. And this is just some more details related to kind of more tweaks that we made to his design as well. So there he is. That's some art somebody made for him. And actually, I think that was also Danny. Yeah, they're super jazzed about this character, which I really respect. So we're excited to bring Zaz into writers.
You're jazzed about Zaz?
I'm jazzed about Zaz. That's right. So, just to quickly wrap up here. So, obviously we've made a lot of progress within pursuing writers and kind of making it more, and as we continue to expand and the community continues to grow, we have aspirations to make this more of a multimedia project. Of course, we're human, not everything works out all the time. During 2.0, there was a plan to create a tie-in comic where we would have basically a backstory for why all these characters are getting together to race, right? And the idea was that the newcomers will unite basically to stop Metals, Neo-Metal specifically, who was new to 2.0. Unfortunately, this never materialized. There's some panels we're showing off for the first time just to kind of outline what this might have looked like. I'm open to kind of readapting this into something else. And something we've been talking about for a while, which might be an opportunity to do this, is it's called PQ Visions. So, yes, so he's right there. We are interested in maybe adapting this to a different format where, I don't know if anyone here is a Siva Gunner fan, but there's one of my favorite bits of that in the channel's history is the Christmas Comeback Crisis, where it's effectively like this, it's kind of like you're watching a visual novel play out in real time, right? So this is kind of a way to make it a little easier to hang on certain, like really focus on certain drawings that we're having to make like a 20-page kind of comic, right, to expand that continuity. So we're interested in making this happen still, and we'll provide more updates as it's going on. One thing that's here right now, and I'm very, very happy to show off at the Expo is, oh, sorry, okay, I'll get back albums.
Yeah.
This is the culmination of, ever since 1.4, I've been interested in, there you go. Ever since 1.4, I've been interested in developing like products surrounding Sonic Riders Tournament Edition. And one of the major things was what I wanted to do to start enhancing the mod to sort of like take it to the next level, because I'm always looking at like how to make the mod better and how to kind of take a more pragmatic approach to like making, the best experience for everybody. So I brought together a music division in our team to create in-house remixes for various games, across the Sonic series and Sega games and even other, even beyond. And then it kind of evolved into, we were eventually approached by like a record label company, and they were like, hey, you got this whole album of like original music, and you got 20,000 people in the Discord server. You should sell something, Protect. I was like, I mean, if we're good on that, and they're like, yeah, I mean, covers are fair game in the US, so we should do it.
I also just want to mention, this project has been in the running for a very, very long time. Not so much for some of us, but for Protag, like he's been on this for 8 years now, which is even just insane. So as we're getting a bit older, and we're getting, we have real jobs now, and we have like responsibilities. Right. Crazy, right? This is a great way to support the people who develop this, and it's a great way to kind of, it lets us kind of justify continuing to work on this result, because we do really want to continue to make this a lot better. Obviously, there's still a lot left in the tank, I think, for what we want to bring into the world of the original Sonic Riders. So even just buying this, $15 for a tape goes a really long way, believe me. And we really appreciate everyone who took some time and some money to support us in that way. So thank you. You're all the best. Thank you very much. As far as what the release release schedule for these albums looks like. We have another one coming next year. It's called Leon Speed. This is actually available for streaming on YouTube right now. It's a set, yes, it's a set of vaporwave remixes of the original Sonic Riders tracks. Literally every single song in the game has been remixed, and you can find it in this album. So we'll be getting a physical release like these two within, I'm going to say around spring. No like hard date on that yet, but that's probably what you're expecting.
I want to talk about Neon Speed.
Oh, sure.
A little bit. Yeah. So it was Neon Speed's actually that whole album of lo-fi vaporwave covers. It wasn't planned for the mod. I just wanted to have it done just as general writers content for all to use, and anyone who's making writers videos. I wanted to utilize it for tutorials or just any writers content creator like in the community. I wanted them to have like just this whole this whole compendium of songs to just pick from. But again, the record label company that we were working with saw what we were doing, and they were like, "Protect, this is amazing. We already have this built content for us. Like, we should turn this into a freaking vinyl or something. Like, this is great."
Yeah.
So.
Wait, you're gonna sell vinyls now?
Maybe, possibly. So yeah, same thing. Likely this will get CD cassette, maybe vinyl. Vinyl is a little bit tricky in terms of production, as we learned. We actually wanted to have this pressed onto vinyl. It's much more time intensive, so we couldn't have it. And as some of you who play the mod know, there are more songs that have not been compiled into album format yet, and we will be doing more album releases as that continues to trickle in. So what's next for us? Oh yes.
I actually have a question. When I was playing the game yesterday, I noticed there were 3 other character strings. Is that for
Those are for future characters.
Okay, so we now know Zaz is gonna be up there, which is exciting.
Keep guessing. and be there for the closing ceremony. You might see something.
Hey! Because to be good on that extreme gear, you have to go with the wind. With that wind, you might as well kiss the ground and go home. And one of the things I'm really like, Jason Gertz even praised my dad's impression.
Yeah, I saw him too. Yeah.
Actually, before we get into this, we're about to wrap up. But one thing I just wanted to, this is, so
yeah.
Some of you might be a little confused about what does it mean by that. So, something I want to emphasize, and maybe this is obvious to everybody but me, but if I want to impart basically something. If you take away anything in this panel, I want it to, from my side at least, I want it to be this. I don't think that you should feel restricted in terms of if anyone in this room is working on like a fan game or anything Sonic related, even outside of Sonic, any kind of fan work at all, you shouldn't feel restricted by the context of what's already existing in the service, right? So, like, the reason I said it is because, for example, some of you might have seen there was some kind of leaked Sega document a few months ago where they found that apparently internally, like, Free Riders is considered to take place before the timeline or before Zero Gravity, and that kind of messes up like what we had planned for like the expansions, the Two Riders story as part of our mod. So, like, I just want to reemphasize, like you should not feel restricted to whatever the creator's original intent was, despite what anyone else might say. You should use existing IPs as a platform for your own creativity to do whatever you want in terms of like whether that's music or a fan game like we do, because that's ultimately how some of the best like elements of some of the best elements you see in the best fan games, from my experience, have been stuff that the creators it was totally original and it wasn't something that existed before, right? That's how that's just how kind of culture spreads and grows. So I also want to emphasize the importance of don't be afraid to reach out to people when you're working on these kinds of things. The Sonic community, I've met so many talented people over the course of working on this project. People are able to kind of suss out talent, right? If you have something and you're really excited to share it, that's infectious, right? People really like to see that, and that's how opportunities like this come up with like things like the album, right? They see that and they see your like enthusiasm for it, and they want to help you bring that to life. So people within the Sonic community are really great. Generally speaking, I'm not speaking for everybody, but yeah, don't feel afraid to express yourself, and yeah, just have fun. So what's next for us? I do want to preempt this. We had something planned for the concert yesterday, and that couldn't work out just for a couple of reasons. So some of this ended up getting a bit jumbled. What we had planned for then will be shown tonight. If you're curious about our best stuff, it's going to be saved for a couple hours then. So if you're really curious about what's next for riders, I would check out the concert we planned. Or not the concert.
Closing ceremony.
Yes, exactly.
At the very beginning of the closing ceremony, be there.
But for the people, yes, for sure. Okay, sorry, I got to pull it wrap it up. But I do have a couple treats for the people who the real ones, right? You came up to the
Yeah.
So we need to just start rapid fire and then take questions because we did promise that we'd have a Q&A at the end. So let's do it. So first up, Master Jet.
So, with the power of the key cube and harnessing the Chaos Emeralds, Jet is going to gain his super form in 2.5. That's the very next patch. Jet's super form is a little bit different from the rest of them. Basically, to start out, he is a speed dual fly type. But the gimmick is that he can only be one at the same time, and he has to switch and pass them off. And as he switches between them, he gets bonus type shortcut speed. So basically the idea is to not use them both at the same time, but to sort of sequentially go speed, fly, speed, fly, speed, fly.
So basically, you grind in Metal City, you grind on the two rails and then take off.
There you go.
That's great. More power to my favorite Sonic character.
There you go. And we're going to show a model of Windmaster Jet. This is
My
the
birthday
design was one of the things I wanted was to make sure that he looked different from Sonic. Here's a deep cut. If any of you notice that in the Sand Ruins cutscene, when they're all pawning up one of the emeralds to race, Sonic uses the yellow emerald. And I think that's not on accident. That's symbolic of the fact that when he goes super, he gains. Yeah, because exactly. Jet uses the cyan emerald. So I think I kind of like took that idea and rolled with it, and I decided to make him light blue. And I think I wanted to add more elements to him, and the artist that was working with me, shouts to Danny. That's the new artist that came on the team with us. Helped me add like the talons. Came up like helping me with that idea. I thought that was like a really nice touch.
Talons look really nice.
Sexy.
Yeah! Those were the primary inspirations for these two.
Oh. You got some models too?
Yep.
Yeah!
We also got,
so cute.
Like the blue shoes?
Yeah. And so, yeah, we don't want to waste any more time because we did promise Q&A. In the meantime, thank you so much, Sonic Expo.
Any questions from the crowd?
Do you think we could get something like this with zero gravity, or?
There's actually another team that works on that. You can check it out.
Sonic Riders DX?
Yeah, they also work on that project.
They did re-gratify, but
of course. We're gonna take another question. Yeah, because there's other people in the back who didn't get to talk. Let's take you. Yeah, you.
Out of all of the concept art that you received, how many of them had scarves?
Wow, that's a good one. You know, I'm a scarf enthusiast. That's one of the reasons why Metal Sonic has the scarf on the back with Eggman to kind of like go along with his creation. Yeah, I mean, there might be more in the future, but you know, we're trying to keep it a little conservative with the specific article of clothing.
The character design contest.
Oh, in the contest.
Yeah, like how many submissions had scarves?
Yeah. Not sure, but I'm sure some of them had. Yeah.
Yeah, you can dig through it. It's in the Discord.
Let's take you over there.
Very quick. Mine's is more of like
have like different other Sega franchises like Miku and all like Miku and all that stuff. Is there any ideas for like Black and Dragon or AKA Yakuza to be like, because Pokemon ties in the game, I know that, but like any other, like whether it be or a character or stage, anything like that?
So one of the things about Sonic Riders that I think is really interesting that I wanted to experiment on is that they kind of like added, you know, Sega characters for unlockables, and I wanted to expand upon that, which is why Miku, Gon, and Riaba, and now Jackal are all in the game. I want to bring in more Sega franchises. I want to bring in Vector Man.
Jet Set Radio. Jet Set Radio.
Jet Set Radio, yeah, that's a good one.
Did I hear Jackal?
I'll take your question.
Oh, there we are. There you are. I see you over there.
Is there anyone else who has questions? Yeah, you.
I blanked out my question. There's some other questions. Get to them first.
Oh, okay. Who has another question?
So what are the limits to Windmaster Jet's switching between speed and fly? Is it just like once he uses like a grind rail, all of a sudden it's like auto switch to fly?
Yeah, you automatically switch to fly. And if you were to press up on the D-pad, you can reset them, but you'll lose the bonus. You'll lose the bonuses that you get. Thank you.
Okay, I got two questions. The first one is, with the new characters, are you thinking about doing something akin to like a quote unquote season pass? Not necessarily like selling it as season pass, but like here's season 1, here's season 2 with like major updates, or are you gonna do like one after another?
We're probably gonna do them like batches. We usually do, we started like a more concise, streamlined way of doing it, where we have characters in batches of 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how we're gonna do it moving forward for the foreseeable future.
That makes sense.
For this patch, I think I'm comfortable with revealing this. We're gonna have 7 characters.
That's really
great. Patch, not including Explodes. These are characters that are like alternate skins and gameplay differences. And then your second question.
Yeah, so my second question is, so I feel like
You have to cut it?
Okay.
Alright.
You can come by after.
Okay,
Yeah, you can actually, you can just come up to me in the game room.
Awesome, sweet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.